This video is sponsored by Sterling Insurance.
We just made this tilting solar sail and roof deck, and we're going to show you how to do the exact same thing on your van.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Van Conversion 101, the video series where we show you how to convert a van from start to finish.
In our last video, we showed you how to insulate your floor and put the subfloor in. This was part 2 of just insulating the van itself. There's another video which goes along with it that does the insulation in the walls and the ceiling. If you want to see those videos, then I will put a link on the screen now.
Today's video is a little bit of a niche one. I don't think this is something that everyone is going to want to do, but we're going to show you how to put a roof deck on your van and also make a tilting solar array so that you're able to use the space in that roof deck.
This is something that we're super excited about and we didn't do on our previous van. Yeah, looking forward to it. But yeah, these are the tools and materials that you'll need. Okay. Not many people do this, so we're just going to briefly explain our concept. It's not something that we did in our previous van, and that was mainly because I guess we didn't really have the budget for it.
We always liked sitting up on the roof of the last van. I think it's a nice thing to do when you can go out and enjoy nature and have a nice lunch up on your roof and enjoy the view and whatever. So seeing as we put a roof rack on already, we thought we may as well go one step further and make it into a roof deck.
And in some of the places you're parking up, you find you don't really want to get out and set up tables and chairs everywhere. So it's kind of nice to just go up on your roof and have that space, I guess. That being said, we understand that this is quite a niche thing and it's definitely not something that you have to do. It adds a lot of weight to the roof. That's probably something you want to think about before you do this. There are lots of negatives to it, basically, and the benefits are you just get a cool roof deck. That's it.
So basically, we wanted to have a nice big solar array because we're including some higher spec electrical items like our air conditioning unit and our electric oven, and we also want to have a good level of off-grid capability. So yeah, we need a decent amount of solar up there. If we were to just mount the solar panels directly to the roof rack, we wouldn't have enough space for the roof deck and vice versa. So we came up with this kind of funky idea. We're going to have the solar panels mounted on top of the roof deck and then have them tilt up so that we can use the space, but also by angling the panels we can make the most out of our solar generation in the winter months, particularly when we're in the UK and the sun's low in the sky. So we did think about 2 ways of doing this. We could have done it with gas struts, whereby you'd have to get up on the roof and release the panels and the gas struts would push them all the way up. Or we could do it with actuators, which give us a bit more flexibility. It allows us to do it from inside the van automatically, and you can kind of stop the panels at various points so you can maximize that solar wattage. So
in the end, we did decide to go with the actuators. I think that was because, I guess you tested both of the different types.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately we wanted actuators. The gas struts were just if the actuators didn't work for some reason.
Yeah.
Again, the reason for this is just because we like that. Like, it's a personal preference and it's very much like, okay, that's a cool idea. Let's try that. In terms of like functionality, they're very similar, like using the gas struts and using the actuators.
Yeah.
So we started off by selecting our deck boards and then we just go on from there. And if you want to see anything in particular, then you can check out the timestamps in the description down below and you can kind of skip between things. All right, so we are sitting in the B&Q park? Car park. We're sitting in the B&Q car park. Will's there.
Hello everyone.
We're about to go in to get some deck boards. So Will's just taken some measurements. What have we got?
What are the measurements?
Yeah.
Well, we've done this already, but I just wanted to double check. So we need to fill a space that's 2.8 meters long and 1.6 meters wide. We need to account for about 3 mil spacing for the deck boards. And there's going to be a cutout, obviously, where our skylight is. We are still deliberating on what type of deck boards we're going to go for. Initially, we were thinking composites, and then people were saying composites are actually more heavy than normal pressure-treated deck boards, so we went on to normal deck boards. But I think there are some kind of hollow composites, which are a little bit lighter. So if they're not stupidly expensive, we might go for something like that. Or a thinner wood, because we've got quite good spacing between the roof bars.
So yeah. We will take you along on our B&Q trip. So we have a bit of a dilemma because we think we want these deck boards, which seem to be like quite thin and light, but we need them longer and they only do them in, what is it?
2.4 meters.
2.4 meters.
And we need at least 2.8
So I think the size
yeah.
is 3.6, but they've only got thick ones.
Oh yeah, all of the 3.6 meter lengths are really thick and quite heavy, so don't think that will work. So we've got our deck boards and we're back at the workshop. We decided to go for these ones. The reason we went for this deck board is because it's spruce, which is a soft wood and it's nice and light. And it's also 24 millimeters thick, which means that it is nice and sturdy as well. Annoyingly, they only had this deck board in a length which wouldn't fit along the entirety of the van. So that means that there will have to be a cut line somewhere, which is what Will is kind of measuring up where that cut line will need to be. While Will has been sorting out the wood and stuff like that, I've been doing some editing because we are also posting this whole van conversion journey over on our TikTok and Instagram as well. So if you aren't already following us on there and you're interested in knowing more about the behind the scenes stuff and short form videos, then definitely go check it out. I'll leave a link on the screen. Now we're hopefully gonna cut the deck boards to size. And I think that will probably be it for the day. Time goes very quickly. It goes really quickly.
Just got our first deck board. The length of these actually has worked out kind of perfectly. The 7 or so deck boards that are going in the middle of the roof, they are stopped short by the fact that we've got the skylight at the back, so they only need to be about 2 meters in length. And so the cutoff, which is about 40 centimeters, is then perfect for the edges of the roof deck, where we've got these 2.4 meter boards that don't quite reach. So we need about 2.8. So that's where that piece is going to come in handy. We're using the miter saw to cut them because it's an easy way to get a nice straight cut.
We obviously didn't have any of these really nice fancy tools in our first build. They're really not necessary. You could just use a saw. Yeah, it's just nice to have.
It's a big time saver, and I'm very pleased that we have it this time.
Okay, so it is day 2 of doing deck boards. And what have we got on today, Will?
So I wouldn't have called yesterday a full day. We went to get the deck boards and we cut a few of them to size, but basically we need to cut around the hole for the skylight. And we also want to have a few little chocks of wood on the back side of the skylight so it looks like a hole rather than just the deck ending, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do today is get up all of the deck boards on the roof, including the ones that we've already cut to size, and see what remaining cuts need to be made, get them all cut to size, and then we've got a few things to figure out before we can actually drill them in. So we need to do like our solar cable entry housing.
Will's got chocolate on his mouth for eating all those chocolate brownies.
Yeah, so before we put the boards on permanently, we need to get our solar cable entry housing through the roof, and we've got a couple of little cables that need to go through as well for like the LED lights that are on the top.
We have the deck boards on the roof. I don't know if you can see them very well, but yeah, they're there.
We're just going to lay them out in the way that we think they're going to be arranged. So we've got 5 slightly shorter ones that are going to go from the aircon unit down to like the middle of the skylight there.
So the aircon unit is there.
Okay, yeah.
And the skylight's back there, sorry.
So the deck boards at full length are 2.4 meters, which goes right from the back to this, I guess, second to front roof bar. And then we've got these little extra bits which were cut off of the middle deck boards, so no waste again, and they're going to just make up the extra distance there. And this is all going to be covered by our solar panels anyway, so that'll look a little bit like that. Very nice.
So yeah, all the deck boards are now on the roof, and we are just debating what the best way of cutting around the skylight would be, if we want to go for rounded corners or just a square or rectangle. And we're kind of leaning towards rounded.
So this is basically what it would look like if it was a rectangle. We're going to cut a little strip off of this one as well so that the thing's got room to open. But it would basically look like that, which isn't too bad. The only reason I think I'm leaning towards rounded, which would be more work, is because if you've got this as a square corner, this has rounded corners, which means you end up with this big kind of gap here. So I think by rounding it, you make it look a little bit nicer and fit more appropriately with the design of the skylight.
Also, we are aware that there is maybe a larger gap than we would have liked between here and here. And that is because we didn't want to spend more money on more deck boards. But yeah, I guess if you have a bigger budget, then you wouldn't have to do that.
We wanted to take a minute to thank our sponsor for the Van Conversion 101 video series, Sterling Insurance. Because what's the point of putting all this time and effort into making a pristine van design if you're not going to take it out adventuring when you're done?
One of the best things about Sterling is that they provide cover for a huge range of modified and self-converted vans. So whatever your project, they probably have a policy for you.
The other thing that's worked out perfectly for us is that Sterling offers cover for the duration of the conversion process too. This means you can take the van out for a drive to help you pick up a mountain of plywood, to make sure that your new drawers don't rattle,
Or in our case, to get our van kitty accustomed to traveling with us. There are a ton of benefits to having van life cover with Sterling Insurance. You can get cover for 90 days in Europe or even longer, and they have optional extras like annual breakdown cover and protection for your camping gear.
We've been with Sterling for over 2 years now, and we can't recommend them enough. So if you're looking for an insurance policy for your van project, give them a call or get an online quote today.
I've just got a couple of little jobs to do. So I thought I'd talk you through where we're at and what we're doing next. So the first thing which I've just done is cut a couple of these little indents into a few of the deck boards. When we put the roof rack on, there are about 6 places where the mounting brackets for the roof rack, they kind of come up over the roof bars a little bit. So yeah, we needed to router out a channel of about 3mm in some of these deck boards. But yeah, basically when we had the deck boards up on the roof last, I just marked out very roughly the position of those brackets. So all I did was just sit this on top of the bracket, push it down to the depth that it needed to be, locked it, and then went and routed out those little indents. The other thing which we're working on now is the tilting solar array, which is something that has been occupying my mind quite a lot of late. I wasn't sure if the angle was going to be okay for us to actuate it, but I think it is. I'll go through in a second how we actually chose the actuators and which one we went for. But this is it. So we've got 2 of these, 1 for either side. It comes with the mounting brackets as well. Looks a bit like that. So this allows the actuator to kind of hinge, but when this extends, it will push up the solar panel at one side, it's going to tilt. So I do want to test these out before we actually get them, you know, permanently mounted and screwed through the roof. I've also got a couple of these little momentary on-off switches. So this is just a simple 12-volt switch, but it also allows you to reverse the polarity of your supply. When you flick it on in one way, the actuator is going to extend, and when you flip it back the other way, it'll retract. It's called a momentary switch, so it actually flips back to the middle. You have to actually press it down to be using it, which is what you want for an actuator. So we've got the panels up here on the roof. You can see they take up quite a large portion of the deck space. So we now don't really have any deck space. We've just got this little bit here where we could lie down. But that is why we're going to be tilting these. So I need to figure out what kind of hinges that we need for that side. And I also need to figure out what locks we need. And then both of these panels will be tiltable, so they can lift up and open up all of this deck space. I've put some of that 3mm rubber strip on the underside. Again, that's just to kind of give it a little bit of cushioning against the deck boards. And I've also drilled some 6mm holes all the way along the side. I'm gonna do the same on the other panel now.
match them up, and then it's going to be bolted together. Again, I'm going to put another little layer of rubber in between the two and a little bit of silicone as well, just to... I don't think people do this very much, so there's no correct way of doing it. So I'm kind of making this up as we go along. But yeah, we'll see. I think if it needs strengthening later, then what I can do is add some steel across like the width of both panels. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes. I've bolted the panels together already, that was a little bit earlier. So we're ready to get them tilted. I am a little bit concerned that they might be a bit too flimsy, particularly here in the middle. But the only way to test it properly is to put some hinges on, which will add some strength to this like bottom edge. And then I can get someone else to help me lift it up. And if we need to reinforce between the two panels at all, then I can do that before we actually put the actuators on. So yeah, I've just lined up all of our deck boards here. I'm going to go and just put the hinges on at various points along this bottom edge. I've just put the deck boards underneath to make sure that they are going to line up well. These are the hinges that I've got. They are just standard stainless steel butt hinges, but I've got like 9 of them, so I can put some all across this bottom edge. They do come with screws, but I got some little, I had these left over actually from last time. Just some little self-tapping screws, because that way I can drill them straight through the metal, and also they're not going to poke out too far into the underside of the panel. Yeah, so basically I'm just going to get them on the deck board like that. I'm going to mark out the position of all the holes, and then I can go through and screw them all up.
Alright, hinges are on. That's how it's looking. What I'm going to do now is just take these the deck boards away, and we've got this big heavy slab of wood that was just scrap at the workshop. So I'm just going to screw them into that temporarily, and we can test out the hinge mechanism, and we can see how flimsy, or hopefully not flimsy, the panels are going to be. I have already just done a test with Cottle, who's the guy who works here at the workshop, to lift it from the points on either edge where the actuators are going to be, and it felt good. It didn't feel too flimsy. There wasn't too much of like a dip in the middle where the panels join, which is something that I was a little bit concerned about. So yeah, I'll just show you roughly how it's going to look. They're not lightweight, but yeah, that'll hinge to a nice angle. We can sit kind of under here and enjoy the sunshine. So you see when you hold it like from the two corners, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but there is a bit of like a dip in the middle, but it's really not too bad. I think we'll just make sure not to use it when it's too windy. So the next step is going to be getting these deck boards back up onto the roof again, just temporarily. We're going to get the panels up there, and I'm going to figure out where the actuators need to go. We're going to have to do a little cutout into the deck boards, and also figure out where my electromagnets are going to go on this end to keep it secure when we're driving. But yeah, it's coming along quite nicely, I think.
Hello. We are back at the workshop, and today we are planning on... What are we planning on doing, Will?
We have a few kind of smaller jobs on the agenda. I want to get all of the cable entry housing like glands through the roof. So that includes this little one. This is our scan strut solar cable entry housing. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be, actually.
Yeah, it's tiny.
It's smaller
Our
than
old
the
one
old
was
ones.
like really quite
Because you'll see, actually, you can get like cheap ones on eBay and Amazon, but they are kind of... They're huge, they're like double the size. Anyway, so that's for our solar cables. A couple of these ones, these are also scan strut. That's just a single cable entry. So that'll be for the LED light bar that's going at the front, and the LED lights that are going at the back as well, just to get them through the roof. And then I've got one last one here. That is a scan strut multi-cable entry. You get up to 4 cables in here, and you can vary the diameter just by essentially drilling through this interior seal.
These are all through Will's lovely workplace, Noma, and we will have a link in the description if you want to buy.
For all this kind of stuff, yeah. Obviously, we've not got to the point where we're talking electrics in a lot of detail yet, but we do have an affiliate link with Noma, so if you go through the link that we'll put in the description and you get a full system from us, I think you can get £50 off And we also get a little kickback as well, which is very nice. And you get to talk to me to do your electrical system, which is the main bonus, obviously.
People are like, ew, no.
You may have seen already that we got an LED light bar to go on the front of the van, but also I thought we may as well reuse a couple of these spotlights. These were actually on the van when we got it, when it was a highway maintenance vehicle. So considering we've got them for free, may as well reuse them. So I'm going to put a couple of these at the back. So that's what one of the other cable entries is for.
So while Will is sorting out the lights for the roof of the van, I am going to sand all of our deck boards so that they're ready for varnishing. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm still sanding, but I thought I'd do a little tester of the colour that we've gone for. So we have the Sadolin Classic All-Purpose Wood Stain, which apparently is good for outside decking and things like that, which is obviously great because that's what we're doing. Colour that we've gone for is Heritage Oak, quite a light colour. We wanted to keep the outside fairly light to match what we think we're going to put on the inside as well. Oh yeah, the other reason that we went for this stain is because you can't put other varnishes over the top, and we're going to be putting clear yacht varnish over the top, and that is for sort of extreme weather protection. So obviously just with normal things like moisture, rain, also helps with protection from wind assisted rain.
So this is the first type of cable entry that we're working on today. This is just a small scan strut single cable. Basically, this is just a little fun one that we thought we'd do. You might have seen when we were stripping the old van, I think it had 4 of these spotlights on it because it used to be a highway maintenance vehicle. So I thought we'd reuse them because they're in pretty good nick, and stick a couple of them on the back here. So I'm going to put a cable entry just here, which is where we've also had a previous mounting hole. I can't remember what for, but there's a hole in the roof that I'm going to have to plug up anyway. So I thought we may as well use it for the waterproof cable entry housing. So these scan strut ones come with a few different bits. They've got a little sealing gasket here, which just goes on top of the hole. It comes with screws to secure that into the roof, and you can put a little bit of silicone around it as well, just to make sure that it's watertight. You then have this part which sits over the top, and the cover which screws into that. In between those two bits, you'll put one of these rubber bungs, so they provide them in a range of sizes depending on the cable that you're putting through it. Our one is about 6mm in diameter, so that's the largest one that they have here. So yeah, I've then got an identical one of these on the other side, and also one right at the front of the van where we've got the LED light bar coming through the roof. Alright, we are back. So I've got the little single cable entry that I showed you before. That one is all installed and ready to go. I've had to drill new holes right at the front of the van and one here at the back for the other 2 single cable entry housings. They will protect the cables from the LED light bar at the front and our other spotlight that's going at the back. So now I can move on to the actual solar cable entry housing. So that is this little one. So that's going to contain our 2 6mm solar cables. We obviously already bought the electrical system, but we haven't done proper videos on designing it yet, but that is coming up soon. But basically, if you need to get your solar cable a little bit earlier on, then they're almost always going to be 6mm squared. It might get a bit confusing because, for example, if you had a 480 watt solar panel, you might divide that by 12 volts and think, oh, well, there's going to be 40 amps running through the cable, so it needs to be thicker. Solar panels actually operate at a higher voltage, usually between 20 and 50 volts, so they are running less current through the cables. So basically, your cables are almost always going to be 6mm squared, which is fine for most cable entry housings. Very similar to the single one, this comes with a little gasket which will go over the hole. It's got a base piece which gets screwed into the roof, and then a top which will go on top of the base piece. You also have 2 more of those little bungs, which will go in these 2 holes here. And when you tighten the 2 bits together, the bungs will close around the cable and it should be nice and watertight. The Scanstrut ones are very good. We don't have any problems with them. So what I've also done, so we've got our solar cables here. I've just put them through the roof temporarily to make sure that we've got enough cable to get back to our electrical system. I did order a long cable, so I wasn't too concerned that that was going to reach. But yeah, always good to check. The other good thing about this is what we're going to be able to do is cover up these 4 little holes that were here from the lights which were mounted on the van before. So what I'm going to do is just place that in a good position. I'm going to drill the hole through, and essentially Gland is going to cover up the holes that were already there. So So we got to this point in the video and realized that it's going to be really, really long. So we decided to turn it into like a part 1 and part 2. So at this stage, we've done all like the prep work. We've got our cable entries in. We're basically ready to put the boards on. So in the next video, we're going to be putting the actual deck boards on the roof. We're going to get the solar panels on, and we're going to talk about how we got the actuators mounted and how we got it working and tilting up and down.
We're also doing this van conversion over on TikTok and Instagram, so if you prefer short form videos, then definitely go check those out. We've actually already filmed the rest of this video, so everything is already on the roof, and I can promise you it's really worth it. So yeah, the next video will be up in hopefully the next couple of weeks. We'd love to have you join our channel as well, so if you want to, then hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon to be notified when our videos go out.
We really do appreciate all the engagement we get, so please do leave a like if you'd enjoyed the video, and if you had anything that you want to see us do or anything that we could have done better, then please let us know in the comments.
Bye.